you could have that.
Okay, the shoulder.
We're going to just have some special remarks from another small business specialist who met with us early today. Mr. Wayne Berry is with Health and Human Services, and he's going to chat with you a little bit about some of his insights as well. And I certainly do want to open the forum for discussion if there are any questions from our small business owners that are seeking interest in working with NIH or HHS. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Wayne Berry.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It is an honor to be here today. I want to thank Ms. Nita, President Nita. I want to thank Vivian. I want to thank Mary for having us here today. Very great, very great. Good job, good job. I saw them, I think I was going to an event in Seattle, Washington, and I was heading out the door last week, and I stopped by and opened the door, and they were in a meeting, for the planning meeting for this, and watching the sausage being made. And I said, hey, I'll be here, and thank you for having me. I appreciate y'all being patient with me. I had a conflict this morning, so that's why I wasn't here earlier, but it's just a great honor to be here. I'm sure you heard from Annette in Scarborough. She is the best at the small business program, especially when it comes to HHS and the National Institutes of Health, so difficult for me to build upon that, but I do want to share with you a couple things about the HHS Small Business Program. I think what you're going to find is you all have at your disposal so many resources, so many ways that you can make things happen, especially if you continue to network, you stay strong, and you keep thinking, who do I know? How do I communicate with them? How can I share information? I think you're going to do fantastic with this. Do you have any questions regarding the small business program before anything you want to know? How many small business owners are here still right now? Raise your hand. Outstanding. How many of you have contracts with the federal government right now? Outstanding, outstanding. So did anyone who doesn't have a contract with the federal government see the people who had their hand raised? Because those are the people who you want to have a conversation with. One of the things we do as a small business specialist, so small business specialists according to different federal agencies is different, right? I mean, some do a lot of outreach, some do a lot of program reporting and things like that. HHS does a lot of reporting, but we also have, some of the specialists now, we have a lot of opportunities at outreach and developing outreach. So what I want to do, I'll be honest with you, I was just so impressed with this event. I was so impressed with Dr. here and her exercise. It's 1,000% true. 1,000% true. I got to tell you, exercise on a consistent basis, your outlook is so much better. And exercising for a small business owner is a necessity because you have to stay strong, right? You have to stay positive. But what I want to say is I was just so impressed with this organization and all the things that you do that I would like to, whenever you need to, I would like to say, if you want to host it, if you would like to have an outreach session, I'll be more than happy to attend and participate and support you anytime this year. If you want to do something for everyone, anywhere you want to do it. All right? Just impressed with what you guys do and what you're all about. Is there anything about the small business program before we get into it that you'd like to know? Any questions? All right. Before I let you go, one of the things that I want you to consider as a small business owner, it's great to know who buys what in the federal government. It's great for you to market to the people who you think buys what you have to offer, but it is just as important to know and understand how they buy. If there are certain procurement vehicles that they buy through, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. It doesn't matter how great you are with this other agency. If you can't buy under the vehicle that they buy, you're really helping the next guy get the contract. I'll give you an example. Here, we have a contract for long-term technical assistance service contract, right? And that is basically for program and professionals on long-term contracts, and there are several vendors on that procurement vehicle. If you're coming in and say, "Hey, I'm an 8A, we've got these great people, we've got this great thing. Here's a white paper, here's a proposal on how we can do it for you, how we can make it all happen." Program may say, "This is the greatest thing ever," and then they'll go to contracting, and contracting says, "That is good. And you know what? We got this procurement vehicle, this LTAS contract, and we're going to find the guys on the LTAS who can do this." And guess what? You just did that, doing all that work to help out the next person. So it's just as important to know who your customer is, and it's very important to know how they buy. Okay? Yes, sir.
So Wayne, how do you find out how they buy?
That is an excellent question. An excellent question.
Go online.
I do not know this man, and I did not pay him to ask that question. So the question is, how do we know what our customer buys? How do we find out what our customer buys? Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Federal Procurement Data System. Aren't you the same person who raised your hand when you said you had a federal contract?
Yes.
What a coincidence. So the Federal Procurement Data System, it's all the contracts that were awarded by the federal government that are not top secret, that are greater than 25,000. All that data is recorded into a database. It's a massive database, and it goes back about 30 years now. All right? So any contract, any product or service, it's recorded in that system as long as it's not top secret and it's above $25,000. So what you can do, now why do you use that to know what they're going to buy? Because most federal contracts, especially service contracts, the only contracts that are not reoccurring contracts are what? Construction contracts. So you're talking about a base plus option years, reoccurring, right? So if a contract was awarded in 2012, it's due for recompetition in 2017. If it was awarded in 2013, it's going to be reprocured and awarded again in 2018 unless the government no longer has a need for that product or service. So you know you can program and project up to 5 years in advance what procurements are coming out. And then you can also go to those agencies, your target markets websites, and say National Institutes of Health. They have a list of calendar events. And I will tell you now that program here at NIH, oftentimes they host events. And they don't include the small business program, but they have hosting all of these events. Just today, I was on campus and I was attending a meeting for a major construction kickoff that Dan Hall apparently talked to y'all about today because I saw the slides. He was talking about that kickoff meeting. I actually talked to those vendors who were involved in that. But across the very hall, there was a symposium at NIH with all these program managers. Y'all would pay money to meet. And if you were in tune with their website, if you were in tune with the customer, you would know what's coming up. And you know, a lot of it's available for the government only. It's government only. A lot of things are open for the public too. You'd be surprised. Do you have any other questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true when you look at all this data that you can even find out what the last bidder, the winner, bid for, numbers?
So the question was,
price, the amount.
The question was, when you look up the contract information in Federal Procurement Data System, does it list the contract, the winning awardee, and the amount that they earned in the contract? The answer is yes. Yes. And every task order written after that is listed in FPDS too. So if you won the blanket contract and you're a member, you're part of that contract holder, every task order that you win off of that contract is recorded in the Federal Procurement Data System. Absolutely. And including not just the award, but the length of time the length of time that contract award and task order will run. FPDS is, I think it's one of the greatest things. In fact, that's one of the projects that I've been doing. We've been working on with that on-star group, had a pet project, and it was to try to find contracts that are awarded to large business to try to bring them back to the small business program. We need the small business community involvement in this. One of my favorite quotes from a small business owner was, "We need to participate in our own rescue." When it comes to making the small business program successful, to give you a little bit of perspective, there are 8 small business specialists that work in the field here at Health and Human Services. There are 65,000 federal employees working for the Department of Health and Human Services. 8 of 65,000, I don't even think that's a rounding error. I don't even know what percentage that is. It's like 0.0000, right? So it is the small business community saying, look, we have this opportunity that we see coming, that was awarded to a large, that we see coming up again, that we think small can do this. And then we can work on your behalf to investigate that a little bit further for you. So, but we can't, it's just too much. NIH had 20,000 procurement actions just last year. So it's too much for us to try to track down on our own. If you bring it to us, then we can have that conversation. We can work with you. You have any other questions? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, ladies first. Yeah.
Do you offer the contract to nonprofit organizations?
The question is, do we offer the contract to nonprofit organizations? It depends. It definitely depends. I mean, I think as a company, there are some things that when you're a nonprofit that you're going to have to understand regarding federal acquisition regulations. Nonprofits usually are in the field of grants and things like that. But if you submit an offer, contracting goes in there. Sir, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a microphone now.
No, you got a microphone.
Let's say if I've seen Wayne Berry's presentation, I'm inspired. I want to become a small business. What's my first step?
That's an excellent question. The question is what is my first step as a small, when I'm considering being a small business owner? Well, there's 2 categories, right? You want to be a small business owner, but then do you want to be a small business owner marketing to the federal government?
Yes.
Those are like multiple things, right?
Yeah.
So I've served in the small business program for the federal government in 2 agencies over the past 9 years. Before I served in the small business program, I was in contracting for the Department of Veterans Affairs in Cleveland, Ohio. And before that, I was a small business owner, second generation small business owner. So I have an interesting perspective that most federal employees don't, right? And from my lessons as a small business owner, and watching small businesses come and go in the federal small business program, I would say there are a couple things that you always want to consider. And I think, given the group here today, y'all understand, you gotta have a holistic approach, right? You gotta have, it's not just the beginning, but it's the end. What do you consider success as a small business owner? And when do you get out? I know it's messed up to think what's the exit strategy, right? I just got started. I'm all happy with it. But if you don't know what you're going for, if you don't know, you don't have a goal, and if you don't know how you're progressing towards that goal, as a small business owner, you may find it hard. It may be easy to lose your way. You may be willing to, you may think it's time to give up when you're so close to actually breaking through. So if there's anything I can give you, it's know when the end is. How realistic is that? I've come across so many small business owners who said, I'm going to turn this over to my son when I'm done with this, and their kid is sitting over looking like, yeah, right. I'm going to blow this money as soon as I get the chance. Have you ever read the book Millionaire Next Door? They talk about how generationally, the first generation comes to this country, they are a small business owner, they are amazing, they raise their children to be doctors and lawyers and attorneys, and then the 3rd generation becomes fully Americanized and they blow the money. I kid you not, that's what the book says. So, beginning, what do you want? Who are you going to market to? How does that marketing plan looks like? When do you get away from being the guy on the front line running the business to the person at the 10,000 foot level, and you have people who do that? And then what is success, and then what is the exit strategy? Those are some huge issues that you got to grapple with before you start setting foot. And that's what I would do if I could do it all over again. Any, ma'am, you had a question in the back. Yeah, does that answer your question, sir?
Good.
Thank you.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Oh, no, he did. It's not good enough. Hold that mic, though. Hold that mic. I got you. So the question is, his question, no, he's good. His question was, what do I do if I want to market to the federal government? What do I do? First step, you gotta go. You do not talk to the agencies you want to do business with. You do not. All right. Don't come to the small business specialist at NIH and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I just figured this out. How do I? You don't want to do that. Present company excluded. I got no problems. I got no problems. I'll talk to you all day. But here's what I'm saying. Here's why I'm saying that. When you're going to a client, you want to put your best foot forward, right? The first presentation, the first person before me, he said, you don't want to mess up. The first time you mess up, they don't call you back, right? Right, so you want to put your best foot forward. You want to be absolutely prepared. You want to be totally ready. The first thing you do when you're looking to market to the federal government is you talk to your procurement technical assistance centers, you talk to your small business administration, you develop your networks with say this organization such as this, a nonprofit organization such as this, where you get to meet those experienced people and you can have those conversations with people who've been there, who know that, so that when you go to step to any representative of the client, of the target customer agent, the target agency, you are all put together. All right? No one wants to help. I won't say no one, but it's very few that you'll find people who are willing to help you, to hold your hand, to walk you through that process while you go through the bumps and hurdles. A lot of federal government will say, see, this is why I don't mess with small business. They don't know what they're doing. And you don't want to be that example. So that's the reason why I say, but there's so many resources that the federal government has at your disposal. So be patient with yourself, be patient with what you're looking to do, because you already set up a plan on what the success looks like and everything like that. So you know that it's going to take some time. So you have confidence and comfort in knowing that I can take this slowly because I'm going to get to what I need to do. But reach out to those procurement technical assistance center. Everyone should know your PTAC. You all should know them. For good, bad, or indifferent, you should know them. Your small business administration district office, everyone should know them. Everyone should be attending small business outreach events, especially ones that are free. All right. This district, this city you got 1 million people we got this great event, we got these formal people, and all these name throwing and all these deputy assistants and all this other stuff. And they're charging all this money. The more money you shell out doesn't mean it was worth your money. All right? You're a small business, you're working on a budget, just go for free. I hope that answers your question. I ran out. Oh, he ran out. Sorry.
You got him.
Ma'am?
Yes, thank you. That's a nice segue into questions that I wanted to ask, which was, as someone entry-level business person, being prepared, as you mentioned, what would be the, I don't want to say easy, but the least difficult certification to get, the most direct path to certification for minority female? Thank you.
That's an excellent question. Okay, so the question is what are the easiest and the best certifications to have for a small business starting out? For a minority business. Once again, I would say consult with the Small Business Administration. Small disadvantaged business usually encompasses so many things, right? Women-owned, of course, speaking to this organization, women-owned. If you're in a certain geographic area, hub zone, maybe something that you take. Services they were better known, maybe it's something that you take. But the biggest thing to focus on is capability, to focus on your capability. Women-owned small business, there are a lot of things that are great about the women-owned small business program.
But I will tell you that the 8A program, the Small Business Administration has a vested interest in supporting the 8A program because that is the only program that SBA is held accountable for by law. Like HubZone and Service Civil, those are great ones and they have to track those also, but 8A is responsible for the 8A program. Now, did I say, once you become a small business owner, to go right to the 8A program? The upside of the 8A program has a lot of vested interest by the Small Business Administration. The downside is it's only 8A for 9 years at the most, with the exclusion of earning an IDIQ contract that continues until that contract expires, right? So you're on the clock for 9 years. What I've seen happen so many times is that a firm will get that 8A status the year they start, and it takes them 3-4 years to figure it all out. And by the time they figured out the federal government, they figured out which agencies they want to work with, the best ones, they've only got 4 years left. They're coming off about the time they develop that competency to really maximize the program. So what I always encourage people to do is when you start a small business, even if you want to market to the federal government, really work with it through your other socioeconomic categories where the clock is not ticking. And here's a good thing. For women-owned small business, National Institute of Health and Human Services typically does very, very well for women-owned small business. Certification would be good. It's not women-owned small business is not self-certifying. I know they got the third-party system with SBA, right?
No, if you get certified as a minority business, that's very often the easiest and it's good. And then if you're woman-owned, that's extra, But local government and other certification agencies can give you that minority business certification. Who's a minority? Black, Hispanic, Asian, American Indian. Those are the 4 major categories, okay? So if you fit into any of those, the first thing you say is I'm minority. And very often, federal government has more requirements, but look into local and state governments because they have such things. And in Texas, we're very lucky. We have a lot of state and local governments with lots of contracts. I helped my partner who he was minority, but he was dealing with basically his community, so to go around. And what I helped him do, because I was in the federal government, was to obtain public contracts. And his business, and he's a double E engineer, he had everything, he knows, all this LED lighting stuff. But the other thing that's important is when you can partner, because when you can partner with, for example, he was an LED, but he then partnered with a contractor. Gloria here is who came also from Texas. She was in steel fabrication, okay? So he became partners with steel fabrication, which, you grow your capacity, okay? So steel fabrication, the difference was he was making in the hundreds of thousands before. When we did steel fabrication, after the full year of service, he's in the $1 million, okay? One of those lean points of achievement is when you go from whatever you started, when you get your first $1 million contract, okay? Not necessarily for you, the $1 million, but the contract is $1 million. That's a big achievement. And you go from there, you partner with other people, and you get more. I was president of the Asian American Contractors Association in Texas, and that was a fledgling, organization, but there's a lot of opportunities. And those of us who are dealing with our own little group, you don't get all the chances. So one of the things they say in Texas is, if you don't come to the table, you can't eat. So you do participate, you do network, it's very important. And one of the top things of business I've learned is you have to have your 2-minute elevator speech. How many people know what that means? You go to say somewhere, and you're in the elevator, and the guy next to you say, you know what you do, and sometimes you say, hi, what do you do? And in that moment, you discover that he's the major buyer of some big contract, government or corporate. You have only 2 minutes as the elevator is going up or down to say who you are, what you do, why you are so special, why is your thing different from other people, and why this man should buy from you. Those should be the 4 elements that you must have in your 2-minute elevator speech. And lastly, I would just only say lastly, go to the SBA.gov website. It teaches you how to write your business plan. You have to have a business plan. We Asians, we spend our own money and we do our business, we are minorities, we use our relatives, friends, and whoever can help you to make a little money. But eventually you learn making business and using other people's money to do it. So what do you do? Line of credit. How do you want to go to a bank or SBA? How many people know what an SBA loan is? An SBA loan is made because we minorities have problems getting loans from the bank. So our dear government, federal government, discovered that they really should help us. So what do? SBA loan is very important, remember this, is because the federal government becomes your co-sponsor for your loan or your line of credit. What does it mean? If you eventually tried everything and you failed, the federal government pays back your loan, and it's at low interest, right, sir?
Yeah, I gotta go on at 1:30.
Yes, sorry, that's it. That's all I gotta say.
There you go.
I'm sorry, it's only because I've been so involved with this, okay? Thank you.
We gotta have you back. We gotta have you back. We gotta give you the mic in the beginning. All right, so I want to thank you all. I'm out of cards and I'm about to leave, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my email address. It's wayne.berry, Berry, at nih.gov. I think probably be on some pamphlets or information or what have you. But thank you once again. You all have a great day.